This is a little tire safety presentation, and it's giving you some pertinent info that you really need if you're going to be a well-rounded person in the shop. You know, whenever you go to work at a shop, you're usually going to wind up starting out doing oil changes and tires and stuff like that anyway. And if you do that really skillfully, they'll move you up pretty fast, ordinarily. That's no matter who you are, you know, unless you've already got a bunch of dealership experience somewhere else behind you. Like when you could probably, when Justin, when he went to work, the Ford car, when he started out doing oil changes, tires, and brakes, and then he wound up working his way up to just doing anything and everything. But the long and the short of it is, this is stuff you all need to know. And you need to learn some of this into memory so you'll be able to just spout it. If I walk up to you in the shop and I ask you a question with no notes, you should be able to tell me the answer. That's one way that you pass the test, if you retain the information, right? Does this look like a good tire?
Yes.
Yes or no?
Yeah.
Now, that's not one of your test questions. You'll run into the answers of your test questions in various places throughout here, so don't miss any of this. All right. That's that tire right there. Look at this.
The tire blew up.
It came apart. This was Daniel's vehicle. He was driving it every day. It's an '88 Blazer, and so he didn't show up for class one day. And I says, "What happened to you?" And he texted me this picture.
Did the tire like it was?
His tire came apart. But look at those tires. All them tires look good. You know what the problem was?
It was old.
They were old tires. They were more than 6 years old, and that's when the tread comes off, and that when it gives you a great big surprise.
Yeah, all right.
You know what I mean? Now, it didn't hurt him. There's an ambulance there, but it didn't hurt him. He climbed out of there and walked away. But the long and short of it was, don't think that a tire is good. Look at that. The day before this happened, both these tires looked exactly alike. That one and that one looked, see the tread on that tire that came off? It still looks good, doesn't it? I mean, those tires were all perfectly matched, but they were all the same age and they were old, older than 6 years. Now, it doesn't matter how good they look or where they were stored. Our atmosphere is 21% oxygen. Oxygen is everywhere. All right, so where there's oxygen, there's oxidation. The tire age because of oxidation. It means the tire's components are exposed to oxygen, causes the flexible components of the tire to become brittle. And when this process comes of age, tires tend to be just like an old rubber band. You ever had an old rubber band, you thought you was going to stretch it back around, whatever you had it hold, it pops like that? You can keep old rubber bands in the refrigerator, and they're okay, but you can't put tires in the refrigerator. All right, so even if the tires look that good and have whiskers on them, and they've been stored in an air-conditioned warehouse, if they're over 6 years old, you should not put them on your vehicle. And you can't trust that, okay?
And the year is on the tire?
Huh? 6 years.
The year is on the tire?
It's actually on the tire. I'll show you in a minute where it's at. Because this process occurs so naturally, it doesn't matter if it's being used, storage spare, simply waiting on a store shelf, entropy still attacks. It can look brand new and still be dangerous. Now, here, these numbers on the tire. Remember when I told you a while ago I held that tire up and I said I need to know the load rating, the speed rating, the aspect ratio? Nominal width of tire in millimeters is here. The ratio of height to width is here. This is the radial. Rim diameter, load index, and speed symbol. Severe snow conditions if it has that, you know, M plus a US DOT identification number. All right, I'm going to show you that tire ply, composition used. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff you can find on some tires. But the main stuff you're going to see are these, and you're going to see the age of the tire. If you know how to decode it, you need to tell where it's made. All right, now see that right here? That's the week, that's the year. That tire was made in the 14th week of 2004. Now granted, sometimes the tire may be mounted so that the date's on the inside of the tire. And typically most tire shops are not going to give a rip whether they've got that date pointing out or in. But if you've got the vehicle up on the lift, you can look on the inside of the tire anyway and it works just fine.
Can you go back to the previous?
All right. Hey man, are you good to go? You got that or what you got there?
I know that's not the right price on that Lincoln, is it?
No, that's a different ticket. That's not, you got two tickets and he hit you with the wrong one. You know, that's your.
Well, apparently they can't find it.
It's on there. It's the newest ticket in the thing. That's the oldest ticket, and the other one's the newest one. But it's in there, and I've already charged out the parts. So, but it's the last ticket in the list. If it wasn't in there, I couldn't have charged out the parts. You know, but, anyway, just tell her to look, it's the very last work order on the list.
She can't find it.
Yeah, I know. Tell her to call Stacy.
She can't get a hold of Stacy.
Yeah, well, tell her to call Becky or tell her to
Hey,
call
we
somebody.
didn't find your little lock for your,
Huh?
There's no locking lug nuts on my truck.
There
There is
sure
too.
was, too.
Yeah, there was too.
Well, I never knew that.
Yeah, well,
well, we got it
well,
off
we got them
there.
off there anyway. So here we go.
Bye.
Everybody got what they wanted? Sorry about the interruption. All right, 1404. Now, that date code will be on the inside, like I say. In addition to oxidation, there are the factors of stress and heat that will shorten the life of the tire. Inflation, pressure, load, and speed. Now, when they put nitrogen in the tire, they're not quite as bad to oxidize. Nitrogen doesn't change with pressure with temperature like, you know, regular air does. And there's a couple other reasons why GM likes to use nitrogen in tires. The only problem is if you ever put any air in there at all, like if it gets a little bit low, then all that nitrogen goes out the window and you basically forgot to start over. You gotta completely evacuate the inside of the tire or replace it with nitrogen equipment for that. Heat will lower or accelerate the point that the stress is caused a failure. If you've got tires that are running low on air, you can also destroy the tire. Tell you something else about these low profile tires. Like this lady had this Chrysler Crossfire out there, and she was driving one of these real low profile tires that come factory on that car. And this is true with them other ones too. You're running it low on air for a ways, and then you have somebody put air in it, the sidewall will blow out. Because that low profile tire doesn't have a whole lot of flexing to able to go on. And they blame you because you blew out their tire putting air in it, but they drove it low, you know, so you gotta make sure you tell them, look, a low profile tire, if it's been run low on air for a while, we put air in it, it's not gonna blow out the sidewall, and you're gonna need a tire. So you probably already ruined the tire even before you put air in it. You find out when you put air in it that it's been destroyed. Now here's your DOT, that's your identification, plant code US3, optional code for size, you know, dimensional code, sculpture, week and year produced. You can tell where the tire was made if you know the code. This might take some Googling. You can Google stuff and find out all you need to know about the code. There are, if you look in there and you look up tire safety apps in your app store, you'll find a whole bevy of tire safety apps. You can punch the code in and find out everything you want to know. I used one and found that one of our state cars had a tire that had a recall on it. Only one of the four, and they were all just alike, but one of the tires had a recall on it. Now there's the section width of the tire and the section height. Now how does the height compare to the width, right? There's your section height, there's your section width. Hard to measure, but the numbers are easy to see. All right, see that one being section width in millimeters, aspect ratio, it means it's 75% as tall this way as it is that way wide, okay? That's why you see if that number's lower, it's going to be a wider, lower profile tire, basically, in aspect. So there's your height and your width. R means radial, 15 means it's a 15-inch diameter tire. You already know that.
Wait, go back, go back.
Oh yeah, y'all were working on that one.
Or did you forget? I sure can't see.
Sorry.
I can't see it.
205 is your section width in millimeters. 75 is your aspect ratio.
Hold on, huh? Section width in millimeters.
Yeah, aspect ratio. And R is your construction type. R being radial, B being bias belted, or D being diagonal bias. You don't hardly ever see anything except an R nowadays though, unless it's a trailer tire. 15 is your diameter of your rim. And 92 is your load index. And your speed rating is H. Now, farther up the alphabet, the farther up the number line you go, the more load and speed you're getting there. You see what I mean? Only if you go with a Mustang, 140 mile an hour Mustang to Walmart, they're not going to put any cheap tires on it that aren't rated for the speed that the car will go. They're only going to put those tires on it because that's a problem with going really, really fast. People say, hey, I like to go really fast, you know. But if you're driving, if you juice your car up where it's going really fast and you got tires on it that are only rated for like 100 miles an hour and you're going 160, taking your life in your hands because tires come apart, centrifugal force. Police radials are made for super high speed, you know, and stuff like that. You good? All right. All right, look at that. S, 112, T, 118, U, 124, H, 130, that's its last number. V, 149 miles an hour. Z is over 149. W is 168. Y, 186 and Y, with a parentheses, is over 186 miles an hour. What kind of car is gonna be running that fast?
I don't know.
Like a Dodge Viper or Porsche or something like
Yeah,
that?
Lamborghini.
Yeah. Now, the speed rating is a measurement of the speed which the tire is designed to run for extended periods. Extended periods. So you're driving a long way. If you exceed the speed rating, it won't explode right away, but it might if it's running that speed for extended time. It blow out. And a blowout, whenever you're going that fast, can ruin your whole day. All right. The tire load index is measurement how much weight is that important. Now you can actually find this chart online. 95 indicates a maximum weight of 1,521 pounds per tire, which means you have to multiply by 4 to get the total capacity for a complete set. All right, anti-ozonants are compounds added to rubber that slows oxidation. In 1970, the average set of tires would only last 24,000 miles because of oxidation. They started putting these anti-ozonants in the rubber. We wouldn't have high mileage tires probably without anti-ozonants. Ozone is actually 3 molecules of oxygen. That's I remember talking about that. I had this ignition board over here, and it was popping sparks, those coils. And I run it for a while, and I was talking a lot while this thing was running with all them sparks popping, and I started getting kind of dizzy because I was getting ozone drunk. You start breathing that ozone, you'll get dizzy. You'll start get lighted. And I didn't think about it until I said, I need to turn this off. I was getting kind of woozy. But anyway, that's also anything that's got a lot of oxygen in it's going to be very prone to corrode and, oxidize is what that's all about. These compounds came into use just 470, and the average car tire only lasts about 24,000 miles in 1970. After the anti-ozonate, have you ever seen these tires that are brown? Like the side of the tire will take on a brown color. And that's because the anti-ozonants are working their way to the surface of the tire. And whenever the sunlight hits it, it kind of turns everything brown. So if you see that walking by and you want to impress your friends or bore them to tears, you can say, that's anti-ozonants that have come to the surface of the tire. And oh man, you historian. You tell me you lie. Anyway, they call that blooming. Blooming is when the tire turns brown because the anti-ozonants have come to the surface, okay? So, has anybody got a question on their chest about blooming? Okay, doing the work. Now, tires are all over the place. When we do service work on a vehicle, we need to pay attention to them. If we don't genuinely care about our customer's vehicle-related safety, we should be doing some other kind of work, right? If you don't really care about whether the customer's safe or not, a lot of times if you just say, well, if I can find me a crappy tire and slam on here, I'll be okay. And just really be careful about that. If you're broke, you got to do what you got to do. But on the other hand,
That's how I got all my tires.
watch this. Watch that little video. See how it's going there? Interactive tire pressure demo. Now, watch this tire. You can get about half out of air and still can't look at that tire and tell. If it can be halfway uninflated, see, and still look like it's got plenty of air in it. So let's say if it's got 35 pounds of air and it's leaked down to 20, are you going to be able to look at the tire and tell? They're going to be like, of course I kid around sometimes, I'll kick a tire and say, yep, that's got 28 pounds. But it's really, you can't tell by looking at it. And you can't tell by kicking it. When you're done with an oil change or a tune-up, check the air in the customer's tires. Most of the time they're driving around with 20 pounds of air in their tires. Let's say you do a tune-up on a car, and you go ahead and I'm going to go and check your tire pressure too while I'm at it. And you find out all the tires are low and you put them right where they're supposed to be. Of course, you're also supposed to be looking to see if they need alignment, if the tires are too old and all this kind of stuff. But the long and the short of it is, let's say their tires are not too old, you fill those things up to where they got the right amount of air pressure in them for that car, look at the sticker on the door or whatever. When they drive that car, it's going to feel totally different. They're going to say, man, this thing is crisp, it corners better, it turns better, it takes off better. I really think that tune-up you did a good job. Not that you didn't do a tune-up, but you actually did something extra. You know what Adam Snap used to do? He would check the air in his spare tire when he was doing an oil change. I don't know, a lot of people would do that. If you can get to that spare tire, it's good to check the air in it. And when we do our vehicle inspections on these here cars, we need to be checking the air in the spare. How much goes in a donut? 60 pounds, that's right. All right. Never do an alignment without checking tire pressure first. Now, when you get it doing your final, and when we get over here and we get our hydraulic lines back so that lift is not, is operable again, we'll be doing our alignment stuff. And those lines should be coming back today. Long and short of it is, always check your tire pressure before you do anything else. If you got low tire pressure on one side or the other, it's gonna cause it to pull and do all kind of crazy things. All right. So, this is me and Joey Henry. Now, if you don't know Joey Henry, Joey Henry is the guru when it comes to programming, engine controller and all that kind of stuff. I saw him do amazing stuff when I was at Craig Van Vettenberg School up here. And he was astonishing to everybody with what he was able to do. I'll tell you what he did. You know how when you're flashing a controller, like a battery controller, his instructors was flashing a controller and the power went down and right in the middle of the programming and the controller was fritzed out where they couldn't do anything with it. And Joey went in there and ran a scan on that thing with his IDS and his laptop and all and pulled up the protocol that thing was speaking, and he went in the back door and woke that thing up and brought it back to life. I mean, everybody was amazed at what he could do. He's a good guy. He's my buddy. All right, never repair a tire worn below 2/32. If it's worn below 2/32 of an inch, and you guys, every time you do a vehicle inspection out here, you're checking the tread depth on the tires, and you're supposed to check it at the thinnest, the place where the tread's the worst. Not where it's the best, where it's the worst, where it's the thinnest, where the thread's the thinnest. Think about what you're doing. Some jobs are more important than they seem to be. What's wrong with this picture?
He's gonna pull that much further.
Brilliant. That hairpin clip is not going to hold if that bolt comes off there. Never repair tires with tread punctures larger than 1/4 of an inch. All repairs must be made from the inside of the tire as well as outside, particularly on large punctures. You know, see these things we got here? That's a plug patch. And basically we enlarge the hole enough to where we can go through there and seal that off so that it keeps water from getting in there on the steel belt. So we use those whenever we can. Unless it's a really small hole, we use one of those on big punctures. When you get punctures in the red area, it's best to replace the tire. On the sidewall puncture is not going to work well. You may get it to it's a hit and miss thing, and it's kind of dangerous to do that. So if it's punctured over here in that area, you can fix it. The maximum number of nail holes are limited to 2 per tire. 2 nail holes per tire, and they must be separated by at least 15 inches. You don't need 2 nail holes right next to one another. If they're too close to one another, you ain't really supposed to fix 2 leaks that are like, 4 or 5 inches apart. And see all them tires out there? Is that cool or what? All right. Section repairs are not allowed. See them tires somebody put them on the outside of the tire and that's them? Isn't that amazing? Anyway, that right there is a sidewall, destruction thing. You can't do anything with that. Outstanding performance. All right. So always put the new tires on the back if you're just replacing 2 of them. New tires mounted on the front. This is what happens. That's America's Tire talking there. New tires mounted on the rear, which is where we're putting the ones on Tim's truck. All right, it doesn't matter whether it's front wheel drive or rear wheel drive or what the road surface is or if it's snowing or raining or whatever, always put the new tires on the rear. See, this one here is spinning out and that one there is actually holding the road. All right, this logic is wrong whenever you want to put the best tread where the powertrain is driving a vehicle. Now for a long time, everybody that I knew, all the old timers and everything, always put the best tires on the front because they had the idea they were cutting the water out of the way. You got me? All right, so according to Ron Margona, Senior Technical Marketing Technician for Michelin, the 2 new tires should always be placed on the rear and older tires moved to the front. And that's been proven on test tracks and labs, and it's all about oversteering, understeering, and the physics of the vehicle center of gravity. So you want the rear tires to be biting good and solid. The 2 new tires have been installed on the rear axle. A recommended rotation pattern requires keeping the tires on the same axle or rotating from side to side. Now, a lot of times you'll see me telling you guys, and you may have heard this already a few times, when we're rotating the tires, and there's 2 tires that are considerably more worn than others, I always say, whatever you're doing with the rotation, just make sure the front tires, make sure that the good tires wind up on the rear. That's what you got to do when you're doing that if you want to be safe. The older mechanics will argue with you about this. But all you got to do is tell them, Google it. It's all over the place. You're not going to find anywhere out there where it's going to say always put the new tires on the front. Because even at Walmart and at Sam's, it'll say put 2 new tires on, put them on the back. There'll be posters up there saying that. Manufacturers speak volumes about putting the best tires on the back. Lawsuits have been lost by shops that put the ones on the front. Millions of dollars have been awarded to accident victims that spun out because of that. Always use the torque wrench or torque sticks on lug nuts when we install a tire. Now, torque sticks are pretty cool because they are basically designed for a particular torque. Even if you're using a good strong impact wrench set on high and you're using the torque stick that's set for a particular torque, that torque is where it's going to stop turning that lug nut. These things are, you can buy these things here and there. They're pretty pricey, but if you're wanting to, to do it quick without a torque wrench, the torque sticks are fine. They're a pretty good alternative. It's faster that way. But just make sure when you're tightening the lugs, you don't get so comfortable with that you bobble the ball and miss one.